Today I'm going to show you how to personalize this dry erase eraser for that very special teacher. These are the materials you need for the project. Let's start with the most important part, which is your dry erase eraser. This actually works for chalkboards and dry erase boards, but I selected this size in particular because it lends itself very well to the size of a pencil. It's skinnier and longer. Plus, I really like it because it sets on the ledge. The ledges of those dry erase boards are often skinny. So there's your eraser. You need your vinyls in whatever colors you want to work with. I will link my specific colors below. You need some transfer tape to get your vinyls on your eraser. You need some sort of weeding tool. I love this. You don't need this, but this is optional. A little weeding receptacle, which I love. And then if you have a lint roller or some tape around, just to prep your eraser before we get started. And of course, you need your cutting mats and your cutting machine. I also always use a brayer to attach my vinyl to my mat. You can use a light grip mat as long as it's new and fairly sticky, or a medium, the green grip mat. So first you'll want to open Cricut Design Space. And if you are a Cricut Access member, you can find this for free. You would go to Images, and you would type in #M 505 CDD3F. And go ahead and add it to your canvas. This is editable. So you just click on this. And you can change it to whatever your teacher's name is. And if it's not a Mrs., if it's a Mr. or a Miss, just go ahead and do that as well. Now, if you do not have access in Cricut Design Space, that's no problem. There's a link below where you can get this file from my website. And when you upload it, it is going to look like this. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to go to Text. And you'll want to go ahead and select whichever font you want to use. I like to use my system fonts. What a system font means is it's just a font that you bring in from outside of Cricut, so it's not in Cricut Design Space. So I'm just going to size those and move them. And what you can do is, if you like these fonts that I'm using, I'll link them below. You can go ahead, I purchased these off of Etsy, and you can just easily bring them into Cricut and use the same exact fonts that I'm using. I'll also link below the video that I did showing you how to do that. It could not be easier. So now that I have this, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to bring back, for those Access Design Space users, I'm going to bring this back. And what we want to do is we want to make sure our letters come through in the right order, that they're not all jumbled up, and it's exactly what we're looking for when we go to cut it. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to select both the misses, which I find it easiest to do over here. Hold down Shift and select the name. And then go ahead and hit attach. So what that's going to do is it's going to keep them together in that exact order with that exact spacing. And that's going to be easier to work with. So we're going to do the same thing down here on the edible one. So we're going to come over here first, and let's ungroup it so it's a little more free for us to work with. And again, we're going to select the name, and we're going to select the Mr., Mrs., Miss, whatever it is. We're going to hit attach. And that's going to make it the same color. And if you want to change the color, you can go ahead and do that. So the important thing is, if you are using the exact same eraser that I'm using, which is perfect shape for a pencil, then you want to keep these dimensions exactly. So 5.7 by 1.4 inches. So make sure that yours is sized that way. And then whichever one you're making, And if it's not, if you're using a different eraser, go ahead and resize it to fit on your eraser. Then go ahead and hit make. And now you see all of our pretty mats with our gorgeous colors. What I like to do to save time, I'm just going to show you this little trick, is I like to put them all on one mat and then send it through, cut it all at one time. So for example, I'm going to come here to our name and I'm going to move object and I'm going to move it to the first mat. Now this isn't the color I'm going to actually cut it out of, so you just kind of have to keep in mind, okay, you know, the name is going to be cut out in black. So then you go to the next one and do the same thing, move it, come here, and then put it down in another corner. Go back and move it. You have to move the objects one at a time, so even though there were two on that mat, I still have to go back and move them one at a time. And then just to show you, I don't have all my corners filled up yet, but let's say I do, then what I do is I go ahead and I put them on the edge at the 6. That's the middle of my mat. And then that way it just helps me line up my scrap pieces of vinyl better. And that's the great thing about this project. You can kind of use those little scrap pieces because these are all such little tiny small cuts. So I'm going to line this up at 6 across. Okay, so we're good to go. It's only everything's going to be on one mat. But again, you just have to remember, oh, this right here is my pink scrap of vinyl. This is my vanilla scrap of vinyl. But your machine will go right to these corners and edges and cut it out for you. Now for settings. I love to use TECKWRAP vinyl. I love their vinyl so much. The one thing about their vinyl, though, is I find it a little bit harder to cut through than some of the other vinyl brands that I use. So since I'm using TECKWRAP, I'm going to select Premium Vinyl Textured Metallic. That's going to cut deeper, and it's going to give me a nice clean cut all the way through. Go ahead, you know your vinyl, select whichever setting works best for you. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get our mat. I'm using a light grip mat because mine is new and sticky. If yours isn't new and sticky, then use the green grip mat. And now the only tricky thing is remembering in what corners you put your colors. So just make sure you have that correct. And then go ahead and start putting them down, and always use your brayer them down on your mat. And then remember, I put it in the middle on the 6. So I'm going to go ahead and line it up and put it in the middle on the 6. And another thing to note is make sure you're using pieces that are tiny, or you know, they're almost the correct size, not too much over, because you don't want to go over into someone else's space. So this is perfect, saves so much time. You are set up all on one mat, so instead of 6 cuts where you have to load, cut, unload, I'm just going to send my mat through once and then I'm going to be done. Now that we have everything cut, let's go ahead and weed. After you're done weeding, then you just want to go ahead and prep the actual eraser itself. And to do that, I just take a lint roller and roll it over the top just to get off any dust or pieces that might be there that might prevent your vinyl from going on smoothly. Next, what we want to do is get a piece of transfer tape. And we want to find the pink eraser. We want to start with that because it's easiest to start at this end and work your way down. So just put your transfer tape on top and burnish the front, flip it over, burnish the back. And then this one's easy to get off, but I always, just as a habit, peel the backing of the vinyl away from the vinyl itself. That's for your more difficult ones. We're going to take it to the end and we are going to line it up, and I'm going to leave a little teeny tiny gap at the end. And then rub it down and pull your transfer tape away. Ta-da! And that was it. It was so quick and easy, and it is absolutely adorable and a very nice, practical, thoughtful, cute gift for any teacher.